For 2010, we expect that growth will accelerate to just below 5%, which is not too far off where the region had been before the crisis, and for 2011 accelerate further to just below 6%. Of course, this is a good story by and large, but let's not forget that the crisis did have a significant impact on the region's ability to make further progress on poverty reduction. And some countries, notably the oil exporting countries and middle-income countries, had significant adjustments to make. Large unemployment levels in some of the middle-income countries, so significant social costs from this crisis. I would say perhaps three factors explain this relatively resilient performance for the region. The first is that going into the crisis, of course, macro policies were generally sound. The region had made significant progress in reducing fiscal deficits and debt levels. The second factor is that most countries, and many countries actually, were therefore able to use the fiscal space they had created to mitigate the impact of the crisis on their economies. And the third factor, of course, is the relatively speedy recovery of the global economy to date. Still some risk, of course, significant risk down the road, but the international economy has recovered quickly. Perhaps the most important one is to be ready. To be ready to respond one does not know what shocks are on the horizon, as we've seen with this last crisis in particular. And being ready means, as we say these days, preparing policy buffers to get those back in place. And for the region, that means making sure that on the fiscal front, things are going reasonably well, that the region continues to keep its house in order, continues to make progress on the fiscal side, so that when there is a shock, there is an ability to respond in the same way that we saw countries respond to this most recent shock. The fund ramped up its assistance to Sub-Saharan Africa significantly in 2009, some 5 times the level we were able to do in 2008. So the fund ended up lending $5 billion this past year to Sub-Saharan Africa. The fund was also able to help countries supplement their reserve levels through the SDR allocations in August and September of last year. Sub-Saharan Africa benefited from some $12 billion as a result of the SDR allocation. And the fund, of course, worked very hard to be flexible and responsive in the way it delivered that assistance through a reform of our lending instruments that has made it possible to extend financial resources to a significant number of countries.